What's up, cinephiles? Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be talking about Pieces of a Woman, a Netflix film directed by Kornél Mundruczó. Now, this movie has a strong buzz for Vanessa Kirby. She won Best Actress Award in last year's Venice Film Festival. This movie tells the story of Martha along with her husband Sean, an expecting couple who suffered this unfathomable childbirth tragic accident. From then, we see chapters of their lives as they try to move forward with their life. But before we do our review, why don't you guys show your support to the channel by hitting that like button and subscribing to us for weekly reviews of movies, TV shows, and video games. Now, I bring back resident cinephile Carlos Laron. Hi there, Happy New Year!
Hi Kevin! I hope you're having a great new year so far.
Okay, so our first collab of the year, Oscar frontrunner Vanessa Kirby. What can you say about this movie?
Yes, I suggested this to you when I found out that it was going to be part of Toronto International Film Fest last year, and as well as Venice. There was a lot of Oscar buzz around it. It was saying that Vanessa Kirby turned in an amazing performance and is worthy of an Oscar. So I was interested. To start off, it's a very arresting and heavy film. It's riddled with anxiety and a somber atmosphere. It's also triggering to those who have experienced this. To those expectant mothers, of course, this will be a sensitive topic. You know, I was emotionally drained by the end, definitely.
I think this movie should come with a disclaimer, like a trigger warning, because I don't want any expectant mothers to see this. And even if some of the mothers who have undergone this unthinkable tragedy, I don't think this is something that I can recommend as well, because I don't think these people would want to relive that experience. But nevertheless, I think this subject matter, this prenatal death, I think that's the right term for childborn death. I don't think it's given much light or used as a main topic in these movies. They're usually used as a subplot to move forward the history of the characters, but you know, every opportunity to tell more stories about that is something that's worth checking out. So I agree, it's harrowing, excruciating, and it's very clear in the first 30 minutes. Now, I am going to be jumping right on that first 30 minutes because wow, Kornél Mundruczó's direction here is so amazing. That first 30 minutes showcases the labor of Martha here. You can't underestimate the direction of that scene because it's taken in such close quarters and it's really hard to move things around, and the way that the actors has sustained the emotion to go through this phase is just incredible. And it's also not gimmicky because those first 30 minutes, they become vital as they go through the end. There's a part courtroom drama that we need to recount the events that happened on that fateful night. That movie makes a big impression right from the get-go, and that's how you start the movie. Honestly, for that first 30 minutes alone, I feel like that could be a short film already in its own right, and people will be clamoring about it.
Going off to what you said about the first 30 minutes, I thought it was terrific. It's the most talked about scene of the film. That 30-minute home birth, which is a single take. We see Martha's water broke, she moans and she howls, and all of these required physicality for the role. I find that her low, deep voice is very haunting, so that was effective. And it was an immersive experience for me. You know, I've never witnessed a live home birth, while more mothers now are opting for this. To see it in film is, you know, refreshing and rare. I thought it was rather uncomfortable. I almost felt like I was in there and couldn't do anything about it, and I had that frantic energy. There was a brief moment when I sighed for relief. I'm sure you were too. You felt that way too. But then the horrific thing happened and I had to pause and collect myself for a bit.
Yeah, really a great job, because obviously we're never going to be mothers and we'll never fully understand the highs and lows of being pregnant. But you know, Vanessa Kirby's performance really puts you in the right headspace to feel what her character is experiencing, and it's a performance that does not beg for sympathy, if you get what I mean, because usually we're so used with this sensationalized childbirth scenes, like a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming, a lot of cursing, but in here you can see that she's a woman who's trying to maintain composure. But you know, childbirth is not easy, it's really difficult, so you can see her breakdown. It's a perfect balance of grace and stressfulness. For viewers out there, you might have to pause it and decide if you're gonna continue to watch that movie. Now let's talk about what happened after those first 30 minutes because I felt like the movie kind of failed to sustain the momentum that was so promising in the first act. It slowly become an ensemble piece. You know, I really expected that it would become a more character study. Yes, it's still a character study. Vanessa Kirby's Martha here, she tries to process her grief, move on, and there are lots of people around her telling her how to process that grief, that she should hold someone accountable for the death of her child. I was just taken aback because we have this subplot, more specifically the subplot of Sean here, played by Shia LaBeouf. I think this is his best performance to date. He really did a great work here. I haven't seen him much outside the Transformers movies, but he in here has his own subplot, and I think that's the part that I didn't like the most because he does some, let's say, dishonorable things, to say the least. You get the rationale behind that, but I guess it's more in getting into depth of why he did those things.
You know, I hear you, and by the title Pieces of a Woman, I initially thought it was meant to be a character study, and in some sense it is, but of course they highlighted her relationships with the supporting characters. Shia LaBeouf's character Sean, who is her partner, and he is much more showy in how he handles grief. He wears his heart on his sleeve. It's a contrast to Martha's resignation, and he turns to drugs and alcohol to have that escape. Like you said, he does some questionable things that made me think, wow, why do you have to do this, you know, amidst all of this tragedy in your life? And he wants Martha to be more open and to feel everything. As the months go on, it's obvious that they are drifting apart. It's sad to see, of course. And on the other hand, we meet Martha's mom, Elizabeth, played by the wonderful Ellen Burstyn, whom I believe will secure a nomination, Best Supporting Actress nomination for this, if not for that amazing monologue, which she ad-libbed, by the way. Just a little trivia there. Her monologue about not being a good enough mother to Martha and how she wants her to do things her way. It's classifiable as a domineering personality. She also makes it evident to Sean that she does not like him. Not because he's from a different social class, but I guess he is just not on the same wavelength as their family. You can tell the difference, right? Right from the get-go, right from that scene when they were buying a car. For me, one of the most powerful scenes in this film is the confrontation scene between her and Martha. It was an acting showdown for the books, if I've ever seen one.
I definitely agree. Ellen Burstyn deserves some consideration here. She's a character that has undergone through a lot of hardships, and in that monologue, you can say that the worst things that happens to us, we can still triumph over it. And so that she's passing that mentality to her daughter, like, you should pick up the fight, because at that point she sees her as some sort of a failure. And then with regards to her relationship with Sean here, of course, the movie makes a point that there's a class difference between the two. Sean here is a construction worker and Martha here is an executive. So I guess it's also interesting that one tragic event can unravel all the problems within the family. And I get that that's the point of the movie. However, I just felt like I didn't get to understand the character of Martha beyond that tragic event. But you know, going back to the performances, Vanessa Kirby, honestly, before watching this movie and watching the TV show The Crown, which I wanted more of her because she's such a compelling actress here, I haven't seen her in any other movies outside, say, some of the action flicks like Hobbs and Shaw and Mission Impossible. And I think this film will make a statement that she's an A-list character, that this is some serious acting chops for her. It's such a measured performance, but it comes out realistic.
It's a career-defining performance. To be honest, I know that she's been around for quite a while. I just haven't watched her projects and films. I believe she was also in About Time, the Rachel McAdams film. This movie is a perfect vehicle for her. I'm excited to see her trajectory.
I've already touched this earlier, Brett. I want to talk more about the courtroom drama, of course, without spoiling anything. I just felt like the way that they structured that courtroom drama kind of feels like it's been touched by Hollywood, like a scene from the trial of the Chicago 7, because I felt like it goes against the nuance and the slice of life approach that they have done here for the first 2 acts. But you know, not to discredit any of those moments of stillness and silence, because there's really intensity here, even in those simple things where she's just staring with a bunch of kids inside the bus.
Those little scenes, I thought they were powerful because, you know, they show a day in the life of someone who has experienced this, and her viewpoint in life is very different. And also, may I point out the symbolism that I found in this film? It's the bridge. When they showed the dates that passed, somehow every time they showed the dates, the background of it is the bridge that Sean is building. It's a good contrast, a juxtaposition to the relationship of Martha and Sean. As the bridge closes in, their relationship is slowly fading away.
This is just a story of a woman who tries to live on after loss, trying to rebuild her life after loss. And even though the pacing kind of drags, it's a movie that you'll mostly feel, though it's not something that you'll completely understand. So I'm going to give my rating now. I'm gonna give this movie a 3.5. Even if the pieces don't entirely hold together, Vanessa Kirby and the whole cast, which did an amazing work here, is really commendable. So I definitely urge you guys, mostly the cinephiles, to go check this movie.
You know, I agree with most of your points. Superb film, deeply affecting, and performances that are worthy of recognition. I feel like the rest of the film did not live up to the terrific agonizing first act.
I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 5, Kevin.
It's interesting how the human condition does not allow people to have a collective experience of grief. It's an individual thing. There's no textbook definition for how you should feel when you experience a loss, but it's because we all handle it differently.
That is a great message. Now we're going to end on that note. How about you guys? Let us know what you think about this movie. Hit them on the comment sections down below. Hit that like button. And also subscribe to us for weekly content. Carlos, thank you so much for guesting again.
Thank you so much again for having me, Kevin. And cheers to an exciting new year of films.
You'll definitely stick around for more reviews. So watch out for that, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Until then, see you on the next one.